the grace to heal and grow in challenging times. If you're in a place where you can do so, I invite you to sit with a long spine and soften the soles of your feet and the palms of your hands like you're opening imaginary fists with your mind. If you're new to that practice, it's one I encourage you to take on, and we'll get into it a little bit further into this video. Along with softening your hands and feet, I'm encouraging you to inhale deeply and fully, but without force, and exhale long and slow. The longer and the slower you make each exhale, the more the thinking stream slows down, the more the heart rate slows down, the more the nervous system regulates. And this is super beneficial. Again, we'll unpack more of this as we go along today in this video. So welcome. If you're with me here for the first time, a special welcome to you. And if you've been watching for a long time and you're tuning in, well, thank you. Thank you on behalf of all of us, because each of us that chooses to grow actively is contributing to the growth of all of us. Why and how? Because no objects or beings are separate. Everything is connected to everything. As human beings, we are under the illusion, until we're not, that we're separate. Let that land. What might you see differently about some of your life experiences now or in the past that can arise from the illusion of believing we're separate? Separate from source, separate from one another, separate from the ecosystem, from nature. What could that give rise to? A lot of difficulty, a lot of suffering, a lot of unskillful choices, a lot of grasping, a lot of pushing away. Challenging times are like an alarm clock that can wake us up. Until we've developed, and I think it's a really high level of development, the ability to just grow ceaselessly without requiring challenge, it does seem to be the most common denominator in instigating our growth. Something challenging that's uncomfortable to be with, and it wakes us up. I don't want to live like this anymore. I want things to be different. Whether it's for ourselves, for our loved ones, for our community, and all across the planet at this recording, there are so many challenges. Wars, unstable governments, falling apart of social safety nets, insecurity through climate change of where and how we can live and for how long. So many things. In the world of integral theory, people are calling it the meta crisis. I think others are calling it that as well. And if we don't have the tools and the skill sets in active use, we can just doom scroll the internet or social media, find more and more things and perspectives shared in such a way as to just drop our energy, and drop it even further. I've done it. I've done it even recently. You see, the thing about thought is the energy quality of a thought runs through the nervous system, and it attracts more similar thoughts. That's how doom scrolling becomes addictive. So with skillful practices that not only reveal our blind spots, but help us to heal and metabolize them and free up that energy for the awakening process, for love that has no attachment, no grasping, no stickiness to it, but actual love, compassion, creativity, joy that doesn't require an outer cause, the ability to make meaning out of difficulty and use it to grow. Use it to grow. Some of you have come to this video because you've been tuning into my fairly recently launched podcast. It's a couple months old, called The Choice to Grow. And that title is so evocative. That's why it was chosen for the podcast. What is it to choose to grow? To use whatever is arising to choose to grow. In this video, I also am going to touch on, I want to unpack a little bit for those who are really doing strong practices, what's the balancing that helps us to metabolize the very intense energies of those practices. So, challenges help us to grow. We can see this in biology, and I'm not a biologist, but I know enough about biology to know that natural systems, when they're perturbed, it can cause growth. It can cause innovation. Well, humans are in a biological body that's connected to the entire ecosystem, and when perturbed, we can grow. But if the perturbation, if the difficulty is beyond a certain threshold, we can go into collapse. Now, there are early signs of collapse. So let's include the people who are doing really strong practices. I'm one of them. I do really strong energetic practices, tantric practices every day, very mantra heavy, Sanskrit mantra heavy. And this can move a lot of energy very, very quickly. However, it can be quicker than our nervous system is ready for. So what are the warning signs that we're moving towards collapse because we've been overly associating with stories of doom and gloom with the world? We've been in a difficult, challenging circumstance, like those of us out here in Los Angeles who were around for the massive fires in the winter of 2024, 2025, and more after that, things going on. In fact, there's wildfires kicking back up again. These are difficult circumstances that can bring up fear, fear of survival, fear of loss. And then I said the power of very powerful practices. So all of these things can instigate the feeling of insecurity, of I'm not safe. So what do we do? How do we manage all of this? Well, first I'll say for those of you doing really intense practices, sometimes there's an indication that you need to bring the practice down a little bit. What do I mean? Well, if you're chanting, several 108 malas, a mala is 108 beads. It's like a rosary for counting mantras. If you're doing too many of them, a very strong mantra, one of the ways you'll know is you can become irritable, have heat in the body, be easy to react, feel anxious and nervous. Those same things can get stimulated by the worry of loss, the worry of harm, overly reading too much so-called news. We project all the time our inner state, which is a combination of our predominant thoughts and the emotional energy that moves through the body with that, onto what we're seeing. I believe it's in the Talmud from the Jewish tradition where it said, we see things as we are, not as they are. Not forever. We grow and grow and grow and have more and more capacity as we awaken and grow up and heal to see things more as they are, rather than falling into the illusion, the net of our projections. Take a deep breath right here. And as you exhale, exhale slowly and have the feeling, make it up that it's easy, that like you're setting down a heavy burden from all the muscles and tissue and tendons and bones and organs, just letting go, just letting go. And do that a couple more times. Inhale deeply. Feel that breath filling you up with nourishment. Let go as you exhale through the whole body, like you're setting down a heavy burden. Once more, inhale deeply. And let go. What I've just taken us through is called a somatic practice. Somatic practice is the antidote to too much intensity of practice, to challenges that we're not yet able to metabolize and digest because they're stimulating too much anxiety, worry, fear, high heart rate, and so on, indigestion. Somatic practice. Somatic means of or pertaining to the body, from the Greek. And then there's also this beautiful word from Sanskrit, soma. Soma. And I do believe they're related, but I haven't seen in a scholarly fashion the connection between the Greek somatic and the Sanskrit soma. But soma in Sanskrit, in the Vedic worldview, means the nectar of immortality. The nectar of immortality. And these two, somatic and soma, are very related in my lots of experience with myself and guiding other people through healing practices. So as we meet and digest tension in the body, guess what? We're unlocking soma. How is that possible? Well, because all things are made of one fundamental creative power, appearing as a blade of grass, the sound of my voice, your body, difficult circumstances, joyful circumstances, rainbows, soil, rocks, elephants. Everything is a manifestation of one creative power. So as we meet and digest tension, as we find it, rather than letting it accumulate, we have a practice for that. Softening the body, like relaxing it deeply, with like you're opening fists with your imagination, but throughout the body, learning how to relax deeply through the whole body, and then attending with love and care and attunement to the area of tension, without pushing, without avoiding, and just stay there right at the edge of it, breathing into it, feeling it fully, without a story, just feeling the sensations and the energies of it fully, and then it begins to liberate. And the more practice we get at this, the stronger we become at the practice. And it is one of the most indispensable practices I've ever worked with or ever taught and facilitated. Learning how to deeply relax the body is key. And I notice this in myself, and I notice this in my clients when I'm sitting with them or talking to friends who are going through something, the moment many of us experience some sort of a sensation that's unfamiliar or uncomfortable in the body, and even lots of positive energy, like I said about doing intense practices, transformative tantric practices, that's a really positive, blissful current of energy, but it can manifest, if our nervous system isn't yet ready to hold that energy, as anxiety, as tension, as fear, as aggression towards ourselves or others, outright anger, rage. So working with the somatic practices creates a stronger and stronger coherent energy body and physical body and nervous system that can interface with all sorts of energies without getting lost, fragmented, dissociating, shutting down, or collapsing. Take another deep, slow breath through your whole body, infusing it with care and love. And let go. And inhale. And let go. But let go even slower with this exhale. So, let's just recap here. The grace to heal and grow in challenging times. The grace is not outside of us, like we've got to ask some cosmic force far away that we're separate from to send us something. It's right here wherever we are. Back to that principle that only one source energy is manifesting as everything, as all of this. So grace is everywhere or nowhere. Some of you are thinking freshly, and I've gotten this question so many times, how do you define grace? I generally try not to. It's something I just have a sense of. But when I try, here's my best attempt at defining it or giving it other words. The power that can transform anything. and it is part of, one with, the source energy that creates. In skillful spiritual practices, and I'm most familiar with tantric practices, P.S. that's not about sexuality, it's about management and working with power and energy in all of its forms. We get more and more familiar with, through the practices, with this truth that one energy is manifesting as everything, and it can have many qualities. So throughout our practices, for one period of 6 months or a year or 7 years, we may be working with a particular type of consciousness, and it may have a name like a deity, like Durga or Ganesha or Shiva. But it's a type, it's a flow of energy, it's a particular set of qualities of energy that we are getting familiar with and training our body and nervous system to be able to flow with and be able to come from and utilize for the highest good of everyone involved. I think that might be the best I've described it yet. Hopefully it's not too complicated. So energy management is really what we're doing. Most of the spiritual practices that we're doing and the healing practices we're doing come down to how we're engaging with energy, our view and our vantage point. Where are we looking at a situation from? There's always another view. Until or if we're able to look from the point of view of absolute awareness, absolute consciousness that can sense and see all of existence without preferences or attachments or aversions. So we're working with our view. Where am I looking at this thing from? Is there another view that has more nourishment, more energy, that shows me a way forward for myself, for everyone involved? And to be able to access a wider view in the midst of feeling challenged, thwarted, collapsed, or tense, or moving in the direction of any of those, or reactive, we need to work with the body. We always need to keep coming back to working with the body, supporting the body. Obviously, this should include healthy foods that are easy to digest and give more energy than they take, eliminating processed foods, eliminating recreational sugar and as much sugar as possible, hydrating consistently throughout the day with clean water, managing our breath. That means inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose unless we're doing a special form of breath work. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. And long breathing, long breathing. James Nestor in his book suggests 5 seconds or 5.5 second inhales, 5.5 second exhales. I've experimented with that a lot, and I find that for me, I'm 6'1", about 180 pounds on any given day. 6 to 7 second inhales, 6 to 7 second exhales is my sweet spot for ordinary consciousness, for moving through ordinary life. When I want to go into a deeper state of consciousness, like meditation and contemplation, I lengthen that around sometimes 10, maybe 12 seconds. If I'm in a deeper state, I can go to 12 second inhales and 12 second exhales, and even longer in deeper states of consciousness. So managing our breathing is a really key part of how we work with the somatic system and unlock soma, the grace that can transform anything. Something I meant to mention for those who are ready to hear this, when we've come from a deep meditative type practice, something that's really inward and slowed down, you'll notice that the breath gets naturally much slower and sometimes a lot shallower when we're in a deep meditative experience. And if we've gotten up from that, or if we're doing a lot of that, we may need to remind ourselves, maybe with a skillful sign in the kitchen or in the bathroom, deepen your breath. I've noticed this more and more lately as I'm doing longer practices, that I can get up from the practice and then I'm still breathing very slowly and in a short, sort of shallow way, and I can start to feel a little bit of anxiety in the body. So I just notice it. I know that there's no actual situation to be concerned about in my life, and I simply deepen the breath and slow the exhales and keep reminding myself to come back to that. So that's a little tip for those who will benefit from hearing that. So let's just recap again. Somatic practice is key to growing, and to growing more quickly, because it supports our ability to manage, digest, and metabolize the energies of whatever strong practices we're doing. The more we're able to metabolize and digest and manage energy with the body nervous system and have a regulated nervous system, the stronger practices we're ready to do. In tantric practice, there is a sequence, but we have to really be ready. The body has to be ready. The nervous system has to be ready to take on stronger practices. So we can train for this. We are training for this. And so I invite you to consider making some form of this a daily, regular practice where you're sitting down intentionally to work with the body in the way that I suggested. Deeply softening the whole body, slowing the breath, scanning the body to see where there's any energy that may feel stuck, held, tense, uncomfortable, anxious, something like this. And then be with it. Relax everything around that area and breathe into it without trying to force it to change. Feel it fully. Sometimes this is quick. Sometimes this takes a little more time. Some energies, if they've got a lot of habit behind them before we started to work with them, may take more than one session. Let that be okay. Just keep showing up for it. And then when you're in your rest of your day and night, notice when you're starting to get tense about something and soften. It's so easy when we notice an uncomfortable situation, uncomfortable energy in the body, or a situation that we're projecting is bad or wrong or difficult or scary, that we start to tense the body. And what this is happening, what this is doing to us is it's reducing our resourcefulness. And the less resourcefulness we have, the more narrow our perspective. It's generally going to be negative, and then it's going to feed the whole system. So I'm offering you and inviting you into an opportunity to shift that pattern through regular skillful practice. This is so valuable, and not just to ourselves, because the quality, the general quality of our nervous system, the main thoughts, the energy of the main thoughts we think, and the emotional energy moving through the nervous system is what we're broadcasting in the environment. And it does touch other people. It does affect other people. You've experienced this yourself, walking through a space. You were in a great mood before you walked in. You walked into this space where there was a lot of people and then felt kind of icky. Well, your field was really open and you were picking up on stuff, and your field wasn't strong enough to metabolize those energies. So you took on the flavor and the quality and the tone of what you were tuning into, and also what you were thinking about the people you were observing. There's so much more we can get into, and we do get into this in the somatic healing session practices that I do. So you can check the website. I'll put a link to the website here, and you can look through the website. There's an upcoming practice. Quarterly, I usually offer either a series of sessions or a single session. If you're watching this in June 2025, at the end of the month, there's going to be a single practice. It's going to be a little bit longer of a single workshop on a Saturday. And you're invited to explore that. Do you have to have any previous experience? No. You just have to have the desire and the willingness to grow, the willingness to bring an open mind and an open heart, and to do the practice. And the cool thing about my host platform, Kajabi, is that all these practices that I give in a workshop form, once you get them, you have them for life, so you can practice with it over and over and over again. And it's great if you will do that. Practice over and over and over again. It can be nice to be guided and led. And then when you know the framework, you have a sense of how it goes, and you really got some practice in it, then you can get creative and lead yourself. Although some of us, and I can be that way too, still sometimes prefer to hear somebody's voice we trust, somebody else to lead us through the practice. And generally I weave in music in the background that's supportive to the relaxation and the process of somatic release. Okay. If you have questions, you can put them in comment boxes below, and I'll do my best with them. May the fruits of all of our practices uplift all beings without exception, especially those who are actively suffering, including the earth. May we be happy, may we be well, and may we feel thoroughly loved. May it be so, and so it is. I'll see you soon.